Welcome to the Mama Africa Show with me, your host, Rivkah Hope. We're talking with Pamela Myburgh today, singer, songwriter, and composer from Cape Town. She has written some of the most thought-provocative songs that you'll hear. I love her work. I'm so grateful to be talking to you. You're a role model to me. Thank you for being here.
That's so sweet. Hi.
So you are in a very interesting place in your career because you're writing a book as well. Yeah. Which I'd love to talk about. But I think the main thing that seems to be emerging from these podcasts is the creative aspect of production, basically. What does it mean to be a creator, and how do you produce in this multimedia world we're living in? And so I wanted to hear from you because you're the ultimate producer. You put in so much attention to every sound, every lyric of your song. It's so layered, and I know this because I also write music, but it's your level of production is on another level. Okay, so I wanted to ask you about that and like how you approach your creative flow. Like, how do you get into it? For you, maybe it's so natural, but a lot of people, like, they wouldn't even know where to start, even when it comes to recording a video or making multimedia content, whatever it is that they're trying to produce. I think that state of like, okay, I maybe have an idea of what I think it might be, to how do I create original content and also not copy.
Right. I think clarity is one of the most important things to have. You need to be clear about what it is you're trying to say, and then also clear about who you are. I think especially on social media and all of the things that you can become, the most important thing you can only ever be is yourself, because there's only one of you. So that's always going to be unique. And I think I've noticed for some people, especially on social media, like they'll jump onto trends and then they'll do the thing that a trendy thing is doing. And then as soon as the trends move on, then they want to switch it up and then just follow the next trend, and people feel fooled. Like, what do you mean? You just sold us this version of you and we all like that. And now you're telling us so there's like a lack of authenticity. And I think the most important thing for creativity ever is authenticity.
Yeah.
If you are not authentic about whatever it is you're feeling passionate about, or passionate enough about to actually put pen to paper or, fingers to piano, if you're not passionate and authentically clear about what that thing is, that's already probably going to be your biggest hurdle. And I feel like that's one of the hardest parts of living in this era that we live in, or era, is that there's just so much confusion. And there's just so much of trying to do this and trying to do that and trying to be all these different things. And all of that confusion can really come in and cloud your particular authentic message, your authentic clarity. We all want to be everything for everyone, and we can't. We have to just be the best version that we can be of ourselves, because that's got to be loud enough. Whatever measure that attracts, whatever portion is allocated to that is enough. We can't have everything and be everything to everyone all the time. I think that's just such an important thing for creatives as well, we just feel that pressure to do all the things that are put out there in front of us to achieve and accomplish and present and broadcast. And the most important thing at the bottom of all of that, and gurgling underneath that, the most important thing you can do is be authentic. Just be yourself.
And then you have this book that you've started writing, Holy Creative. And I just picked out like some other books that I found of like the woman that's founded the church that we both went to, or where I met you. And just like how she also, started writing music and then wrote these 3 books in a row. And I think it's such a nice overflow of creativity to then put your ideas into a book. But I wanted to understand, so how did that come about? Can you tell us more about Holy Creative?
For sure. Well, I figured if I'm the artist who writes a 9-minute song kind of without breaking a sweat, I should probably write a book, because maybe at the end of all that music, I'm actually just a frustrated author. No, seriously, I have very little problem with lyrics I always tend to write a lot of lyrics and have to sift through and break through most of it to get it to fit into the 3.5 minute pop song model. And I think I just got a little bit tired of that at one point and decided I need a medium that's going to let me put more words in because I have more words to say. And then it's like, why not a book? And I am someone who reads. I am someone who studies. I've never stopped studying. I have a bunch of authors. I don't read that much fiction. I read mostly nonfiction. But I have become someone who loves to read, and I've never thought of myself as an author. And so even in doing this book, it's called Holy Creative, and it involves my spiritual journey and creativity combined. And it's I find it's just very freeing for me. It's liberating to actually just be able to take the time to expand on ideas and to write things and to record events as they happened, with all the disclaimers and all the side notes included, and there's just like nothing left out. I'm finding it really liberating to go through this process.
I think you were a jazz singer before. How did you start producing music?
Well, listen, first of all, once a jazz singer, always a jazz singer. So even though that's not anyway my primary way of surviving as an artist at all, in fact, I don't sing that much jazz at all anymore, and I miss it a lot. But the producer thing for me has always been about collaboration, because I'm not technically very good at putting my ideas onto a computer, but I am good at articulating it. I'm good at communicating it. So I work very closely with my husband, who does mainly the computer side of the production stuff. But I'm communicating the things all the time, and I'm planning what I want to have where in our music. And it's, for me, a powerful thing. Like, I don't need to be the lone wolf of production for our music at all. I think it's kind of sad if that's kind of your only way to do it, because the collaborative, if you find the right person to collaborate with, it's just always going to feel better, and it's always going to be more exciting. The process is going to be just 100 times better if you're collaborating with the right people. So I feel like that's something that I've grown in and definitely prefer, especially because the computer side just takes me so long, and there's just no point in it. Like, I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses, and that's just not necessarily a strength, and I'm done apologizing for it. I just know what is my strength, and I can communicate what I'm looking for accurately.
How do you write? Because like your lyrics, it's so layered, and but it's so compressed. Like, my favorite song is "The Comparison Is a Disease," and it's literally, it's less than 3 minutes. So I have to like play it on repeat. Usually the narrative in pop music is you and me and love and all of those things.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, I just choose pop music as the medium for the sound part because I like the way pop music feels. I would use that same message with other styles of music if I preferred the way they feel, but I don't. I prefer the way pop music feels. So why not write that message? Because the thing is, if we kind of bring it back to artistry and authenticity, you get to pick and choose this stuff. You know, I can choose, like, the fact that I like pop music. I can choose that, and I can combine it with thought-provocative things versus, you know, what you're trying to say, the easy topics, the relational topics, I know what you're trying to say. Look, there's nothing wrong with that stuff. It can be really cathartic. I think a lot of people use pop music in that way, and I mean, the numbers speak for themselves, right? But for me, because pop music is just probably my preference, it's my genre of choice, because it's the one I like to hear the most and the artists that I listen to the most. It made perfect sense for me to just take my authenticity and marry it to that sound, regardless of whether it was popular or not to do it. That's what an artist does. If we don't create something that makes people think, if I don't create something that makes people at least sit back and go, whoa, where am I on the spectrum of this thought? then I've sort of failed a little bit as an artist. I feel like I haven't done my job. I haven't pointed my finger at something and gone, have a look at this. What do you think about this? That's the job of an artist, 100%. And if I choose to do it with pop, I feel like that's at my own risk, really.
I think that you're like born an artist, because honestly, like I found it hard to get into that space of like total originality, because honestly, I would copy a lot of the styles or like the narrative of what you should write about. You're always thinking like, what's the audience going to think? Are they going to connect with this? And then like I wrote the song California because I was like, oh, I need to connect with the California people. Like, so you're always thinking about the audience, and it's like in public speaking, which is what I'm doing now, that type of coaching is like, it's always about the audience, and you're not the hero, but the audience is. But then there's also the other voice saying, actually, it's not about the audience.
You've got the Rick Rubin school of thought, which is forget the audience. They don't exist. Do what you're going to do regardless of them. There's that school of thought, which I stand with for certain portions of the process. And then there's the other school of thought. Jacob Collier actually called him out on this. It was a really funny thing I saw on Instagram. Jacob Collier said, I don't agree with Rick Rubin on this. As only Jacob Collier can do in his perfectly British accent. I don't agree with him on this because it's all about sharing. Music is all about sharing, how he speaks. And it's all about people getting involved with what you're exploring. And it's more fun that way. And he like came from the other side of that, of the coin. So I've got to say, truthfully, I think it's a bit of both. I think there is a time to ignore the invisible audience, in your brain and in your psyche as you're writing music and as you're writing the song. There is definitely a time for that. There's definitely a time where it's private. And I don't mean it's private as it's just you alone. There's times when it's private, when it's just the conversation that's going on with the people you're in the room creating music with. And that's why it needs to be a really safe space. But it's private in that you're free to say what it is that you're feeling to say or play, or like choose your note choices, your melody choices. You're free to make those decisions and even sometimes those errors. And that's a safe space. And I would say that that's the part of the Rick Rubin thing that I agree with. In some ways, that's the part I agree with it. But then on the other side, there's like, okay, we have this thing. Now, how do we make this something that people actually do want to like nod their head to or like sing along to? How do I take this and actually find a way to inject a popability to it? Or how do I find a way to inject the I like this feeling to it rather than it's self-indulgent? That's something I always, it's a line, you tiptoe on this line.
Yeah, it's difficult, but I think it can really stop artists from creating. Like I would always, and also sometimes you listen to producers or people in the industry that are always like challenging you or sometimes one-upping you, and you're just like, okay, you lose yourself in it. And I think it's with any writing. I mean, a lot of people working in companies now have to also use their voices on social media, and they find it really hard to find their authentic voice. I found it super hard as an artist. I felt like when I started, it was really authentic, and then you start speaking with people in the industry, and then you're like, oh wait, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. So how do you not like copy, especially now when, I mean, we have like AI tools, you can generate sounds, and that's also entering like Spotify, AI generated music.
Let me just put your mind at ease. All music is copied. Everybody's copying everybody. And I know you're saying that's not authentic. It is, because I am taking this thing from this person and this thing from this artist and that thing from that artist, and I'm combining it together in a completely authentic way, and I'm adopting it as my own. It is authentic because of the combination of moving parts. It's not authentic because it 100% comes from your own soul. Yes, it does, and I believe in the message it should. But there is a degree of copying, and even if you're not copying an artist who's alive, you're sure as heck copying someone who's dead. I can't think of one person or one musical movement that's happened in the last 50 years that doesn't sound like something that has already happened.
can we break it down? Because like, I really want to understand, because to me, your music is so original. Like I've never heard
Yes,
any.
but that's because, well, isn't that just because that's how good you are at it? Isn't that what makes the difference between someone who's average and someone who's good? Is your ability to disguise. I know when I'm honoring the people that I'm influencing in my writing. I know when I'm honoring them. I know when I'm honoring them in my singing. I know when I'm honoring them in my production. But is it not just because I might be good at keeping it a secret that makes me authentic sounding? I don't know. And I'm not even trying to keep it a secret. I don't care. I like it. This is the jazz in me. I like it when someone can hear who I'm referencing. I like it. That's what jazz is all about. Like, you want to sing a solo, you want to sound a bit like Ella Fitzgerald, you want to sound a little bit like Betty Carter, you want to sound a little bit like Sarah Vaughan. You want to combine all of these singers. You want to have little bits of everyone. Like, look at this, guys, look at this. I got this girl, I got this. You can actually show these things. They're like cards in your hand, like you're playing a poker game, like bam. But you're not trying to really keep it a secret. So the jazz in me, I can tell you, I can break down all the songs that I've written and the production angles, and I go, yeah, I know what that was about. That was me tipping my cap and saying thank you to, Bjork, or tipping my cap and saying thank you to Jamie Cullum, or whoever these artists are who have influenced me. I can hear it back when I'm listening to the song.
Okay, so let's start with comparison as a disease. I just want to understand how you wrote that. Who were you speaking to, and how did that idea like come into your brain?
Okay, remember, message and music is different for me. Like I said, the message is the part where I'm selfish and I am not considering the audience really necessarily. I'm like, this needs to be addressed. This needs to be spoken about. We need to think about the fact that we are raising a generation of people who know nothing else but to compare themselves and feel lesser than. That's what we're doing. That's all that social media is focusing on and promoting. And I know there's good sides to everything, but this song was specifically targeting social media and how, just the suicide rates in teens have gone up so much, and people are literally killing themselves because of the way they feel. And I thought about, in writing the song, I thought about my nephews sort of not being allowed to be on social media, and how they would feel at a party, how they would feel if they were in a class and there was a party on the weekend and perhaps they weren't invited, and the whole class is talking about it and everyone is sharing pictures about what happened, and then you've got this one on the outside. I'm not saying this was my nephews. I was imagining. Remember, the power of imagination is the whole role of it. You can't be a creative unless your imagination is your best friend. I take walks with my imagination. We sit together like it's my friend. My imagination. I have to think and live with my imagination if I'm going to create anything that I'm actually excited about. So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking and having this conversation with my imagination, like, how would it feel if you're this one on the outside and you're not the one at the party, and you feel this continual comparison, and this is happening from the age of 10. I mean, I don't even know how early this is. Like, for young kids, the way that it's being imposed on children's lives, and the sense of comparison. I mean, it's bad enough without phones, let's be honest. Going through school and all of that, it's bad enough without that whole added pressure. And so I came up with the thing of it's like it's a disease. I came up with that because I thought it is like a disease, because it takes over the cells of your brain, it takes over the cells of your body. It makes you a different person, like a sickness would make you a different person. Comparison morphs something in you and makes you a different person because you're trying so hard to be what people need, and it neglects or it negates what you are. And so comparison is a disease kind of came out of thinking like that and going, yeah, that's what it is. And then imagining and drawing those parallels of disease and how you can become riddled with disease.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I was just saying the lyrics and the music are separate from me. So I will write the whole idea a lot, and then I will start to think, okay, how can I make this palatable?
Mm-hmm. And how do you think we can rewire our brains? I mean, how do we talk about people differently, especially artists and celebrities, and how the news writes about the stupid things of their lives or their looks or whatever, like how do we reframe our thinking to not being so superficial and having those petty conversations?
I feel like we're going to need like an entire revolution because of how fast everything is going. Like the way there was the Industrial Revolution and all of these massive movements that happened in history that changed the direction and the shape of society forever. I believe that nothing short of a revolution will actually change the way things have been and the way things are becoming in the meantime. And that's on a mass scale.
And what does that look like? I mean, if there's no accountability for this type of bullying behavior you're talking about, then how does it actually change? You know, who are the instigators of that change?
In the interim, because like I said, I believe there is a mass revolution that would be needed we need to have it. Things have been overthrown before, guys. Like in the history of humanity, we have overthrown governments, like we've overthrown stuff that we don't like. Things have changed. And there would just need to be enough of a cry from people going, we just don't like the way this works and we just don't like the way this does stuff to us for things to be overthrown. Not that I'm trying to instigate craziness. I'm just trying to say it's not impossible and it's also not the worst thing for things to change and for things to be overthrown. But in the meantime, what I'm trying to say is I take care of me. I take care of this. I take care of my family. I take care of my kids. And I use my spirituality for renewal. I renew my mind and I change the way that it thinks. And I change the way I feel about certain things. And I have my steps, if you want to call them programmable steps, that I do when I know that I need to renew my mind in a particular way. Like I have things I actually literally do. And then I live by that. And after a certain amount of time, it's normally about 30 days, I find that those thoughts are not as, not captivating, but those thoughts are not as enslaving maybe as they were before. So I renew my mind. But that's
And what kind of exercise, what practices do you do?
It's a biblical thing to renew your mind. It says in Romans 12, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And what that means to me is it means like, don't allow the things that you can see that are going on around you that are negative to have such an impact on you that you copy them, even though you know they're negative. Like, don't allow that to happen, and don't allow yourself to be in a pattern of this happening as well. And it's a real warning, I believe. And so that, for me, there's how I renew my mind is I have steps that I take where I change my literally in that moment of thinking about the thing that is enslaving me. I go, stop, and I become self-aware in that moment. Stop. This isn't what you wanted to think about. This isn't actually even how you really feel. And I just connect with compassion. I connect with mercy in that moment. It takes time, and people just want to rush on with our lives, but it takes time. And I just it takes 30 seconds. So that's not that much time. However, to stop yourself in like mid-sentence, mid-whatever, and go connect with compassion, connect with mercy. Is this how you really feel? Is this really who you want to become? The type of person who thinks like this, the type of person who's never free of this sort of thinking. Is this who you really want to become? And then I lay it down, I lay it aside, and I move forward. And if I do that continuously enough times, it's your brain. There's an amazing book by Dr. Caroline Leaf, who is also a very provocative South African woman. So, woohoo! But she wrote this book called it Your Brain, Switch on Your Brain. I think that's what it's called. Mm-hmm. And she deals with actual like how your brain, your neuroplasticity and all of the things in your actual brain is designed to be able to change the way you think. But things get stale, and the older you get, I'm sure people know about this by now, but the older that you get, your pathways in your brain are so ironed in, like they're like think about this. Now, this is easy for you to think about. You're an African girl like me. Think about walking in the grass. And if you walk in the same place in the grass for long enough, and enough people do that, it makes a path, right? So there's wild grass over here and wild grass over there, but you're walking through this middle section, which is kind of flat, right? There's a path that's been made. So your brain makes paths like this because you've thought the same thing, and you've thought the same thing, and you've thought the same thing, like you've walked through the grass. And we have been wired to be able to go, not this way, that way. But people don't always know how to do that to your own brain, to go, not this way, that way. And you make a new path. And you stop doing this. You do this as a child. You do this into your teenage years. And I think it's after 25 when your your frontal lobe has been fully formed, apparently. For some, it must be later. And then you do it less. That's why people change less as they get older. But it does not have to be so, because the neuroplasticity, which literally means your brain, your neuro can change. Plasticity can mold, can morph. So your brain can actually morph and mold as you get older as well. It just sometimes takes a bit more work because, you're just older.
People are having to rewire their brains. And that's one of the biggest problems that I've seen through my surveys of public speaking is overthinking. So people
Oh my gosh.
They don't know how to process all this information. And it's hard, hey, because I synthesize well, I think, like writing, and I can take a lot of information and synthesize it because that's my gifting. But I never understood the extent to which, like, most people just have tasks they have to do at work, and then they also have all this information and all the things happening in the world. And then how do they continue to be creative? And I think the big thing is about identity and not get lost in just responding to all these demands and thoughts and ideologies, because you can get lost in that. And you can also start agreeing with everything. And then you're just in between and you've lost who you are. And sometimes we can be stubborn and just like hold on to like, no, I can fight this battle alone and I can speak to all these voices. But you do actually have to shut them out and say, actually, I'll listen to them or what I have to listen to in my industry or whatever I'm doing, but then
correct,
have to maintain and protect your identity. But what does identity mean? Especially if people are moving around. When I was in Amsterdam, I know you were in you love Amsterdam, you performed there as well.
Yeah, I did a while ago. I have some really good friends who still live in Utrecht and one or two in Haarlem. So yeah, Amsterdam is, plus my favorite piano player in the whole world lives in Amsterdam. So it's close to my heart for sure. The Netherlands for sure.
Yeah, and I just saw, so when I was interacting with some of the people there at the church, then I just had this feeling like everybody's been displaced, and a lot of people come from different countries. Right. They're ripped out, from their family, but they're being well paid and have a nice job. But they're actually, you can sense there's a lack of like belonging. And so, what is identity? How do you find your identity when you're in this type of displaced? I mean, you've been through immigration and you sing about it too. But how do you maintain or work with, how does your identity, how should we look at identity?
All right. We've actually immigrated twice. We did to London the first time. We were in London for 2 years on and off between Cape Town and London, just trying to figure it out. But we just really couldn't make anything work in London. We were doing the opposite. We were making money in South Africa and taking it to London. When normally South Africans make money in London and take it to South Africa, we had it backwards. So that didn't work out to be the best experience for us. However, we learned a lot. And then straight from there, we came and we immigrated to the US, and we've been living in California ever since. So that's almost 6-7 years now. I know, because I was pregnant at the time. Yes, I immigrated 3 months pregnant, 4 months pregnant. And then we had our firstborn here. So that was about 6.5 years ago, actually more leaning on 7, because I had to be pregnant that whole time that I was here. I always forget that. So I think that has a big part I think of identity as where you grew up and where you live. I think for sure it matters. Family matters. I mean, if these things didn't matter, why are people still talking about them well into their 30s, 40s, 50s? Why do you still go back to, well, when I was younger? Why is that still something that you're processing all the way through your life to try to make sense of who you are now based on what you were like then? Well, I do that all the time, actually. And so what is identity to me? For me, like, the only thing that matters is authenticity. It's the only thing that matters, is to just be honest. I think that's part of my identity for sure. I value honesty above most things in life.
But sometimes honesty can have a dark edge, if it's not rooted in love.
Who cares?
If your heart is hard and you have, do you think it's then still okay to just like run around saying whatever you think just because, you're in favor of honesty?
I'm not in favor of slander, but I'm in favor of honesty. Like by that, I mean, you can say, I feel this way because of something that happened, and the way I'm processing it is this. That doesn't make you slander. That makes you go, this is how I'm processing it. And you're also open to the fact that maybe the way you're processing it is not healthy. And I think talking about it like that, like you're not the genius of your own life. Like you're not the one who has all the answers for how you process everything and whether it's actually good for you or bad for you. I think that's such a big step forward for people. Like, I don't know, I feel like the narrative has changed in that way a lot. It has for me, where I've gone, oh my gosh, why am I thinking about it in this way? And instead of actually just reacting and having the emotion, I'm like looking at the emotion and I'm going, why are you here? Why did you make me feel like that? Why? Who let you in? That's not who I am. And instead, so I'm trying to look at the way that I react to things a little bit more with self-awareness.
Yeah.
We must always respond. We must never react. The knee-jerk reaction is the thing I'm saying. Like the reaction is like, whoo. And now I go, okay, where did that come from? What is that reaction about? Where is it from? Like what did that do in your processing to make you go, that's the reaction it deserved?
Mm-hmm. A big topic recently in my training sessions has been personality. And I really wanted to play a game with you today because this is the EduCast, not a podcast. So it's about personality because there's a lot of tech startups that have like these personality tests that the companies use all the time. And a lot of the conversations about personality, the personal brand. So I wanted to do this thing. And I think a lot of people just have an identity crisis. And like, if we can harness, I'm going to use your word, if we can harness the identity in words, maybe that's a good starting point to say, this is my personality. So I did this with a family member the other day. And I was like, okay, let's write down 5 adjectives that we can use to describe your personality and your own personality. And then we show each other what we think. Okay, so I'll write like what I think of 5 adjectives that describe my personality and 5 that describe your personality. And then we show each other what we think.
Okay. So I have to write it down and show you.
Yes. Okay, so you write your personality and my personality in 5 words.
Okay. I said I am bold. I said I'm creative. And even that was not very creative.
You want to show your paper?
They write on top of each other.
Okay.
Okay, so there, those are the ones.
Okay.
So bold, fun, creative, kind and joyful.
Wow, I love it. Okay, so I wrote about you here. I wrote smart, flowy, bold, captivating, and interesting.
Oh, I like interesting.
That's only because I'm a fan, so most of us I'm just captivated. Okay, so what did you write? Okay, then about me.
I wrote administrative, because you are, and that is a gift, and it's part of your personality. Friendly, persistent or resilient, same thing. Persistent is keep going. Resilient is bounce back. I think you have both. And you're innovative and you're also bold. So that
wait, I want to write that down. Okay, so I'm going to write it down afterwards. I wrote about myself: open, independent, pensive, compassionate, and direct.
you can be direct and it's not mean. It's just direct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's interesting to see that in different cultures, I think. But
Yes.
this little game is because I lived in Poland where they're like super direct, but it's like a different type of direct to the Dutch.
Yep.
But I mean, all cultures, you adapt as you get there, you know. Okay, so yeah, I want us to do this exercise. So what do you think stood out to you about this little exercise?
I liked interesting because that's important to me, I think. I like to know that I'm interesting.
Why?
I don't know. Because I can't handle boredom. On all the personality things that you can do, repetition is is the lowest thing that I have. But that's the jazz musician in me, you see. The more you reinvent and innovate the melody, the better you are. The more you just repeat the same thing, the less interesting, so the less good you are. So that is something that's really in my identity of like, I don't like that much repetition. What did you like?
What did I like about it? I just like this exercise.
No, what did you like that I said? What stood out to you?
The admin side, I mean, that's absolutely necessary. But I'm also, very like experiments and like very curious to like my production thinking is always, and I'm very focused on production. Like even if I spend 3 years researching something, I know that there will be an outcome that will be great in the end. So I always trust that even though it might take a lot of time, I think you have to also as a writer, it's like, okay, yes, all this inconsistency and irregularity will pay off in the future. Like there'll be a great book or something that will emerge, whatever it is, but you know something will emerge and that you just trust the process. So that's my thinking behind that. And yeah, I also want to hear, did you ever think you would write a book?
I've been keeping a journal since I was about 15. I don't think I ever thought for sure it would be a book. But somewhere around my mid-20s, I started thinking, maybe that's why I've been writing it all these years and I just have kept writing in it. And then I started thinking, maybe I'm going to have something to say one day that would make a difference for people. And I feel like I've got there, finally, I think. Well, I don't know, we'll see.
You've adapted also to the multicultural context of Los Angeles. I saw you were singing in Spanish as well. And so how important is community to you in terms of, having this healthy sense of identity and allowing your personality to shine? Like, where does community fit in?
Community is huge for me also because I'm probably more extrovert than introvert. So I need to have a place where that can actually be celebrated. So community is one of the highest things on my list because it doesn't have to be a huge community, but it does have to exist for me. Even like the smallest amount of friends who I'm laughing with and having just a good time with, even it just boosts my own natural inspiration and my own natural creative energy. If I don't have that, I just run solo. And I've noticed about who I am as a person, like I'm a person who needs people.
How do you feel like your creativity is sort of transformed over the years, especially with immigrating?
I would say probably children changed me in that more than where I've lived. Because when you become a mother, it's like another thing that you become and you have to be and that you have to serve. And so it does swallow up a bunch of your time for sure. And then being a mother in a city where you don't have your parents or your mom, so there's very little kind of backup. That's another reason why things just slow down. So I have not liked that, but I mean, I've loved being a mom, but I haven't liked the cost of it for sure. Even so, who cares? I would have just done it. I would never not have had my kids. If you told me it was going to cost this, I would have still probably done it. But the thing with creativity is like it never leaves. So I can still just go back there and I can say invest in the time and invest in my imagination and I just got to get my piano chops back and I'll be back, you know. I just know it's going to take a time. There's a time and a place where it will flood again. And I feel like I'm very close to actually having that time where, well, I've got a 2.5-year-old, so it's also a bit dependent on like when he's also like a little bit more independent, then I just get to have that time back. And I'm quite excited. I think I'm just developing and I'm just banking references and things that I like. I'm just making a big bank at the moment so that when that time is upon us, I can strike.
I want to ask you, just some tips maybe before we go today is how can people start being more creative? How do we start channeling our thoughts where we can actually produce something that is valuable?
You have to pay attention to what is important to you. You have to pay attention. That's like our ADHD generation. No one can pay attention anymore. Like the way everything has to be edited with like 900 other edits on the edit so that you'll just keep watching this 10-second video is absurd. And I think we need to pay attention. Like if you have any hope of being creative, you have to know how to pay attention. Not just to yourself and your self-awareness, but you have to pay attention to what matters to you and what's important to you. If it's your kids, pay attention because there is an inspiration lying in that that's just gonna jump out at you if you're just paying enough attention. And if it's your spirituality, pay attention to it. What matters about it to you, that can make it matter to someone else. I think the first step that you have to do if you want to be creative is probably to pay attention. If for you to pay attention, it means to shut off, go ahead and shut off. Like if it's social media or if it's like your email or whatever it is, if that's what it takes for you to pay attention to what matters to you. Remember, it's pay attention to what matters to you, not just pay attention for whatever reason. First you have to decide what is that thing that really matters to me enough that I want to pay attention to it. And out of that will come that creative voice within you, whether you're an artist or if you are, designing clothes or if you're an architect. There will be things that matter to you that you're already going to be drawn to because of that creative thing inside of you that's leading you there. And then you'll pay attention to that thing. And then there'll be something that shoots out at you, which will energize you and give you that inspiration. And I'd say that's the best place to start. If you're a professional, we're talking like hobbyists now. If you're a professional, you have to live there. You can't wait for the perfect day to switch it on. You have to go and sit down, work and make magic happen, which is something I'm actually talking about in the book. It's like you have to be sort of paying attention all the time so that there is a reserve for you to be able to draw from. But if you were speaking to me more as a hobbyist, I feel like when you were asking me that question, and so those two different things. There's a way a professional reacts to a situation, a way a hobbyist acts. Hobbyist has always got an excuse. The environment wasn't right. I didn't feel good that day. A professional is a soldier. A professional does it regardless of how they feel, regardless of the environment, regardless of the outcome. And those are two really important things to understand and to also know where you are on your journey of creativity. Are you a professional or you're a hobbyist? If you would like to find out, I would say that's something worth researching because there's a big difference. And you might not be cut out for the professional one, or you might be more than a hobbyist and you're kind of like cutting yourself short because you like have a lot of professional tendencies, but you're just like downplaying yourself as a hobbyist. I think it works on both sides. So that's something that's important as well. In terms of starting your creativity. Yeah.
I want to ask about your presence as a performing artist, because even speaking to you like on a video camera, I just feel so like you're so comfortable in your space, like the way that you move, like your presence just feels so comfortable. So I want to ask you, do you ever feel fear, like as an artist or walking into a room or a studio on stage? Do you feel fear? Do you like feel your heart racing, or do you just feel this confidence?
Sometimes if something is new, I'm more aware of it, the fact that it's new. And then it would maybe make me feel probably what is nervous, because I'd be like, oh, this is new. But at this stage, there's little that's new in that way for me. Like I would have to be like stratospherically like shooted into like the atmosphere and like have massive concerts bigger, like larger than life. Like I've had some big concerts, but I've never been larger than life. Maybe if that ever happened, I'd be nervous. But right now, the level that I'm at, there's nothing new enough for me to go, I'm uncomfortable. I don't know how to be in this situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think that's what nervous energy is about. It's about you actually just not knowing how to be or what to do or what's expected of you. And so then you're nervous because you don't know. You're actually in a state of panic, which is why I also always just come back to just always be yourself, basically, because you can't mess with that.
And also the fact that you are unique, because, you know, the way companies see people is in terms of objects and numbers, and you're replaceable and we can replace this person because they have the same skill set. And then I always have to come and be like, no, you're not replaceable. You are irreplaceable. There is no one else like you with your personality. And just because it matches on an Excel sheet a bunch of skill sets, that doesn't mean that you are replaceable. So I really like what you said, like, it's empowering to say, okay, there is value in who you are.
I'm just confrontational by nature as well. I'm not afraid to confront. I love confrontation because it brings peace. So for the sake of peace, I confront as well. And so I don't mind if in a social setting there's confrontation. I like it because I'm like, okay, we're edging closer to the path of peace is being established here. Not that I'm walking around picking fights. But I don't mind if I'm in a situation and there is confrontation. I don't mind. If someone wants to challenge me, I feel like it's one of the biggest compliments. I actually like it a lot.
Yeah. Because it returns you. It's a resource.
Yes. And there has to be enough interest. That's why I said it was flattering for me that you said you find me interesting. I'm like, okay, that's exciting for me. Because if someone was also invested and interested in enough to confront, that means there's loyalty there, I feel. You don't pay that much attention and you don't invest and you're not interested enough in somebody if there's not this inkling of loyalty that goes, but why did you say that? There has to be a loyalty behind that statement to this person, or you would just not care. God will say it, don't say it. It's not different in my life.
Yeah. So, Pamela, what do you think is the most important thing that we should know or should take away if we want to be more creative, more authentic? What's the single most important thing that you feel we need to focus on?
You have to value it. It can't be something that you can take it or leave it. There has to be value. You have to place value on it. It has to mean something to you. I feel like that's why there's art and there's creativity. I like art. I have to be creative for my job, but I don't always have to make art. I like art. And being creative is important because it's in who we are, but not everyone is an artist. There's a distinction there as well. I think that people feel like, but I'm not like she is. I'm like, yes, you're not, but you do have a creative soul because we're all made in the image of God, and God is first and foremost a creator. That's the first thing he did, was like, all right, let's get the show on the road, people. I need horses, I need dogs, I need grass, this is the DNA of who we are as humans. This is my ethos, this is my spirituality, this is what I believe. I'm not putting it on anyone out there. This is how I see the world. And so every single person carries that DNA to create, whether you're in business and it's to create a solution, or whether you're in accounting and it's to create a loophole, or whether it is, whatever it is you're in, there is a innate DNA in you to create something, or to create a way, or to create something that's not already there. That doesn't necessarily mean you're an artist. But I like to speak to creativity as well, because you'll never be an artist unless you're valuing creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say where you place your value and where you place your affection is really important.
There's one song that we should listen to that's your favorite that you've produced or sang.
I don't have a favorite. I love everything.
But if there's one that you would say, go listen to that one first.
I love Lemonade because Lemonade, there's like the meaning of the song for me is so universal and everyone can go, they felt like that at one stage or another in their lives. So actually Lemonade is probably one of the strongest songs for me in the sense that everybody can join in and go, yep, I know what she's talking about. Whereas Comparison is a Disease might be a little, and some of the other more spiritual songs are also like, what? But Lemonade is like, yeah, I know what you mean.
And I also think you capture the Cape Town culture so well. Maybe you're not conscious of it. I feel like, yes, that's my home. That's my girl. Like that's my place. That's how we are, you know? So
There's such freedom in Africa. All you need to do is be away from it for a little while to remember it. It's so beautiful. So Africa is in many ways still home to me, even though I'm a citizen here in the US now and I love America and I'm grateful that I'm here. Trust me, I'm grateful. But in many ways, South Africa still feels like home.
yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Pamela, for coming on the show. It's so cool to learn about your ideas of creativity and just like, yeah, being bold, being authentic, unashamedly you. We will follow you.